Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. All right, picture this. You're in the grocery store, maybe grabbing an apple, maybe an avocado, right? And you see that tiny little sticker. Most of us, yeah, just peel it off. Don't give it a second thought. Maybe it's even a bit annoying. But what if I told you that little label, that seemingly insignificant sticker, actually holds a kind of hidden story, a secret language about your food? Because honestly, even now, Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, at 11:42 a.m. EDT, most shoppers are still missing these codes or misreading them completely. So our mission today, let's crack that grocery code. We're aiming to, well, maybe revolutionize your shopping habits a bit, give you a shortcut to being really well informed. And, these kinds of insights, these aha moments, that's exactly what we try to bring you here. It's also the kind of great info you'll find over at Mind Expansion Daily. Definitely worth checking out if you want to expand your knowledge base.
It's absolutely true. And look, this isn't some vast conspiracy theory or anything. It's more like a language that's been hiding in plain sight for, well, decades now. We're talking about PLU codes, price lookup codes. They started out pretty simply back in the 1990s. Just a way to make checkout faster. It's managed by the International Federation for Produce Standards, the IFPS, are sort of the global folks setting the standards for identifying fruits and veggies. But now, these numbers tell you way more than just, this is a banana. They hint at the farming methods, stuff that goes beyond maybe a flashy label on the bag. It's a language that, honestly, once you get it, it can really change how you fill your cart.
Okay, let's dig into this then. Starting with the most common one, the one you probably see all the time. If you happen to be near your kitchen, maybe grab an apple or an avocado right now. Look at that sticker. Chances are you're seeing a 4-digit code. Often starts with a 3 or a 4. Like a regular banana is often 411. A Granny Smith apple, maybe 40139 if you see one of those. That's your flag for conventionally grown produce. But what does conventional actually mean for us eating it?
Right. So practically speaking, that 4-digit code tells you synthetic fertilizers and pesticides were used to grow it. Now, it's important to say these methods are generally considered safe by regulatory bodies. But there was a recent report, 2025, from the Environmental Working Group. They're a nonprofit focused on environmental health and safety. And they found that around 70% of non-organic produce still carries some traces of pesticides. 70%. So it's not about saying this stuff is bad, not at all. It's just a fact about how it was farmed. Knowing this lets you make a more informed choice. It kind of prompts the question, right? Are you okay with that potential exposure, or does it make you lean towards other options?
70%.
Oh.
Wow, that's actually quite a number, isn't it? So, okay, if someone prefers to go organic, like I often try to do, what should they be looking for then? Is there a specific code for that?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where it gets really helpful for organic shoppers. There's a key thing to look for, what we sometimes call the rule of 9.
The rule of 9. Okay, tell me more.
It's simple, really. If you want organic, you look for a 5-digit code, and it always starts with the number 9. They basically just take the conventional 4-digit code and stick a 9 on the front. So that 4011 banana we mentioned, if it's organic, it becomes 94011. Or, say, a Hass avocado. Conventional might be 4225, the organic version, 94225. That 9 is your confirmation. In the U.S., it means it meets the strict USDA organic standards, which means the land hasn't had synthetic chemicals for at least 3 years, and crucially, the produce itself is non-GMO. There was actually a survey in 2025 by the Organic Trade Association. They represent the organic industry, and they found that 65% of shoppers trust this 9 code more than just a general organic label on the package.
Interesting. So the code itself carries more weight for many people.
Exactly. It's that clear, verifiable signal.
Right.
The rule of 9 gives you that confidence.
Okay, now I've heard whispers, maybe myths about another code, something involving the number 8, like 840 for a GMO banana. Is that still a thing? It feels like a bit of a ghost in the system. What's the story there?
It really is a bit of a ghost. And yeah, it's a fascinating bit of history about food labeling. That 8 prefix was intended for genetically modified, or GMO, produce. That was the plan. But here's the catch. Using it was completely voluntary. It was never mandated. And by around 2015, it was pretty much abandoned. There was a lot of pushback from the industry.
Pushback. Why?
Well, concerns about consumer perception, how people might react negatively, potential for mistakes in labeling, and just the sheer complexity of adding another labeling system across global supply chains. So it just never really took off. It didn't get widespread use, which means the situation now is, well, most GMO produce just uses the standard 4-digit codes, like conventional produce.
So they just blend in.
They blend right in. There's no specific PLU code identifier for most GMOs anymore. And this causes confusion.
Yeah.
Consumer Reports did a study in 2025, the independent testing group. They found about 30% of shoppers mistakenly believe all GMOs are clearly labeled somehow, which just isn't true.
Wow. So if avoiding GMOs is a priority for someone, what's the practical advice?
Your best bet, really, is to trust that 9 code for certified organic. Organic standards, by definition, prohibit GMOs. Or look for the non-GMO project verified seal, that little butterfly label you sometimes see on packaging. Those are your reliable indicators right now.
That's really crucial information. So these numbers, the fours and the nines, they tell us a lot, but you're saying they don't tell the whole story.
Exactly. They're powerful clues, but there's still nuances. It's not quite black and white.
Like what? What else should we be thinking about?
Well, take organic, the 9 code. It assures you it's non-GMO and grown without synthetic pesticides. Great. But pesticide residue levels can still vary, even on organic. The USDA noted in 2024, for instance, that sometimes trace amounts might linger from previous land use before it was certified organic, or maybe drift from a nearby conventional farm. Usually minimal levels, but it's possible.
Okay, so organic doesn't mean zero possible trace contamination, just that it wasn't intentionally used and meets the standard.
Precisely. And on the flip side, those conventional 4 codes, sometimes they can hide pretty high pesticide loads, depending on the fruit or vegetable. Think about strawberries. They're almost always on the dirty dozen list.
Ah, yes, I've heard of that list. From the Environmental Working Group again, right?
That's the one. They publish it annually.
Yeah.
Strawberries are often high on that list because, well, they have porous skin, they grow close to the ground, and they tend to be sprayed quite a bit to fend off pests and mold. So even after washing, they can retain more residue than, say, an avocado.
So what's the practical tip here then? How do we navigate this complexity?
The best approach is to combine your knowledge of the PLU codes with other resources, like that Dirty Dozen list we just mentioned, and its counterpart, the Clean 15 list, also from the EWG. The Clean 15 highlights produce least likely to have pesticide residues, even when grown conventionally. Things like avocados, sweet corn, pineapples, often things with thick peels or husks.
Right, the natural protection.
Exactly. So you use the PLU code as your first clue, conventional or organic, and then maybe you cross-reference with the list, especially if you're budget conscious or prioritizing certain items. It gives you a much more layered, informed approach.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical. This isn't just, interesting trivia. This gives you a real edge in the store. So let's say you're looking at bananas. You see a 9401, bam, you know instantly. Certified organic, no synthetic pesticides, no GMOs. Maybe that's worth the extra cost for you. But if you see the 4011, you know it's conventional, might have residues, maybe that's fine for your budget, or maybe you're baking banana bread and peeling it anyway. It lets you make that conscious choice.
Precisely. Or you're comparing apples. A 4139 conventional apple versus a 94139 organic one. Now you can actually weigh the cost against what you know about the farming methods and potential residues. It's not just guessing based on a label, it's using the data from that tiny sticker.
It really does change the game when you're shopping.
It absolutely empowers you. And get this, a 2025 poll by Food Safety News, they focus on, well, food safety. They found that 50% of shoppers who know about these codes actually change what they buy based on that knowledge. Half of them.
50%, that's huge. It shows this information really does impact decision.
It's real consumer power in action. Now, from the industry side, sure, retailers love PLU codes. They make checkout super efficient, right? Scan, scan, done. But critics do argue that the system, especially with the GMO 8 code basically disappearing, allows for a certain amount of vagueness. Consumers want more clarity. And while the IFPS updates the codes every year, adding new fruit varieties, keeping things standardized globally, that transparency piece, especially around GMOs, is still lagging. The IFPS themselves noted in 2025 that only about 5% of GMO produce still uses that 8 code, which just shows how little it caught on.
So there's pressure building for more transparency.
Definitely. There's a growing demand from consumers, from people like you listening, for more honesty, more complete information about the food we buy. The pressure for clearer standards is mounting.
Okay, so let's just quickly wrap up the key takeaways here. What you, our listener, now know, those 4-digit codes generally mean conventional farming. Could include GMOs these days. 5 digits starting with 9fin. That's your signal for certified organic and GMO-free, your gold standard. And the 5-digit 8 codes. Mostly a historical artifact now, a relic from an attempt at GMO labeling that didn't stick. So from now on, you really are equipped. You can be a produce pro, picking with actual precision.
Exactly. You've gone from just grabbing food to actively deciphering its story. And that transformation, it makes you wonder, If this much information is hidden on a tiny sticker we usually ignore, what other important details might we be overlooking in our everyday lives? Our other consumer choices? It's kind of a provocative thought, isn't it? It makes you want to look a little closer at things.
It really does. And if you want to dig even deeper into this specific topic, definitely check out resources like the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 lists. We'll drop a link in the show notes so you can easily find those and maybe adjust your shopping list based on pesticide levels in different produce. If you found this deep dive helpful, please do us a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to Mind Expansion Daily. That way you won't miss out on more insights like this, more shortcuts to being well informed. And we genuinely want to know what you think. Drop a comment below. Do you agree with our breakdown of these produce stickers? Did we miss anything? We love hearing from you. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.